7:15 Ypres, Belgium. The early spring drizzle casts a sheen over the pockmarked fields, turning the earth into a morass. Boots and wagon wheels alike are swallowed by the tenacious mud, churned into a thick, gluey mire by incessant shelling. Women arrive at the field hospital, carefully balancing trays laden with bandages, precious morphine syringes, and steaming cups of tea. Some carry cumbersome radios, while others wrestle wheelbarrows overflowing with sandbags to reinforce the makeshift trenches that protect the aid station. The wind, raw and biting, slices through layers of both uniform and shawl, carrying the unmistakable metallic tang of blood and gunpowder. Nurses, drivers, and clerks work with grim determination under unrelenting pressure. The thunder of the guns echoes behind them. French 75mm field artillery firing with relentless speed, sending shells arcing across the horizon at a rate of 12 to 15 rounds per minute. Some explode mere yards from the forward trenches. Machine guns chatter like swarms of angry insects, Vickers rifles spitting out rounds at a staggering 450 per minute. Casualties arrive with horrifying speed. The ratio of fatal wounds can be as high as 1 in 3, depending on the intensity of the barrage. According to some accounts, Clara Thompson, a young nurse of 22, kneels beside a mud-caked stretcher. Gently, she wipes the grime from a soldier's face before carefully bandaging a jagged wound above his knee. Methodically, she records the details in her logbook. Time of arrival, a precise list of injuries, and the immediate treatment administered. Each name, each minor scratch, is a testament to human endurance amidst a mechanical destruction. Her hands remain steady, but adrenaline courses through her veins, her heart pounding in her chest. Outside, the artillery barrage is an unending drumbeat, shaking the fragile tents and splintering the makeshift walls of sandbags. The first wave of tension washes over the women as they prepare the hospital for the onslaught. Vital supplies arrive sporadically. Carts laden with precious morphine, accompanied by instructions for intravenous use. Bottles of antiseptic, bearing careful instructions for dilution, and stacks of pristine white bandages, each meticulously measured at 4 meters long and 5 centimeters wide. The nurses unpack the dreaded surgical kits for field amputations. Scalpels, saws, and clamps, instruments of last resort. Their actions are guided by grim statistics. Mortality rates after femur amputation in these brutal conditions hover near 30 to 35%, according to some sources. Signals crackle across the field. Whistles from the nearby trench signaling approaching waves of infantry, flags fluttering on improvised poles. The women communicate with a terse efficiency. Shouted commands, swift hand gestures, and the occasional semaphore. Clara accepts a folded letter from a wounded soldier, passing it to a colleague. "For safe-keeping, mother," he murmurs, his voice barely audible. These fleeting human moments pierce the surrounding horror, tethering everyone to a life beyond the mud and lead. Outside the hospital, the first shell lands perilously close to a supply tent. Nurses instinctively dive for cover. Jars of iodine shatter, spreading a reddish-brown stain across the wooden crates. Clara clutches a stretcher as a shockwave passes, listening to the agonizing cries of men and the deadly whistle of falling shrapnel. The artillery barrage intensifies. 105mm howitzers pound the earth at a rate of 6 to 8 rounds per minute, their shells burying deep into the mud, leaving craters reaching 2 meters in depth. The shallow trench lines offer scant protection. Some forward posts collapse under the relentless explosions, leaving shattered timber and twisted wire in their wake. The chaos escalates with the arrival of an ambulance convoy. Engines sputter and choke in the thick mud, tires spinning uselessly. The women strain to push and guide the vehicles. Every second a precious commodity. A .50 caliber heavy machine gun opens fire from an unseen enemy position, the bullets snapping through the air and slapping into mud around them. Clara presses herself against the sandbag wall, noticing the faint, almost ethereal smile of a wounded private. Clutching a photograph of his sister, she offers him a nod, a small gesture of reassurance amidst a mechanical roar and chaos. Meanwhile, behind the lines, the clerical teams work tirelessly to process casualty reports, sending telegraphs with coordinates and statistics to divisional headquarters. Each report meticulously includes exact times, type of injury, and priority for surgery. Field intelligence relies on this data to calculate survival probability and allocate scarce resources. Women type with furious speed, sending information that will determine the strategic allocation of the next wave of reinforcements and medical evacuation. The second surge of tension arrives as a forward supply convoy attempts to reach the trenches. Clara and her colleagues coordinate the loading of stretchers, water, and surgical kits onto horse-drawn wagons, timing each movement to coincide with the brief pauses between shell bursts. The all-consuming mud slows every step, and miscalculations could mean crushed limbs or worse. Machine gun nests fire sporadically, forcing temporary retreats and tactical adjustments. At times, orders are screamed over the deafening din, almost unintelligible but obeyed instantly. The discipline drilled into these women as if they were combatants themselves. Inside the operating tent, nurses desperately stabilize soldiers with fractured skulls, severe abdominal wounds, and shrapnel injuries. Each procedure is executed under immense time pressure, with the nearest trained surgeon moving frantically between tables. Antiseptic is limited. A single drop of infection could mean death. Claire meticulously notes the speed of breathing, pulse, and blood loss, making rapid calculations for life-saving transfusions that must arrive before shock becomes irreversible. The room is a cacophony of movement, moans, and the rhythmic clink of surgical instruments. Yet, amidst the devastation, small acts of normalcy help maintain morale. Claire scribbles a note on a scrap of paper and slips it into a wounded soldier's pocket. "You'll see your home again. Hold on." Nearby, another nurse hums at him quietly to calm frightened men. Radios buzz with incoming messages. Code words signal enemy movements, adjustments in supply lines, and incoming shelling patterns. Women translate this crucial information into immediate action, preparing stretchers, boiling water for sterilization, or directing stretcher bearers to the next casualty. As night approaches, the first wave of relief arrives. Casualties have been stabilized as much as possible, but the mud and blood tell their own story. Clara sits for a moment, exhausted, listening to the distant whistle of an artillery piece, counting the fresh craters, and noting that some forward trenches have been completely obliterated, leaving men stranded and exposed. Maps are painstakingly updated. Units marked, zones of intense shellfire noted, and probable casualty estimates revised. The women's work directly affects crucial operational decisions, which units advance, which retreat, and ultimately which will survive to fight another day. By the end of the day, the field hospital is a well-oiled machine, running on adrenaline and sheer will. Claire and her colleagues have acted as medics, logisticians, and coordinators, ensuring wounded soldiers receive the care necessary to return to battle or simply survive. Outside, the night fog swallows the mud in trenches, leaving only the occasional flicker of candlelight or the distant glow of a burning shell. The legacy of these women is already being etched into maps, reports, and the very lives they save. Their strength, silent and unwavering, is a force multiplier behind the front lines, a poignant reminder that war is fought not only with guns and shells, but with courage, skill, and relentless determination. 14h42, Somme, France. The sun manages to pierce through a thick layer of gray clouds, casting a pale light on the mud-filled craters and broken barbed wire. The terrain is a chaotic tapestry of trenches, shell holes, and scattered debris, a testament to the brutal fighting. Women in uniform move with purpose along narrow paths, navigate between makeshift dugouts and field hospitals. Some carry stretchers, their faces etched with exhaustion. Others manage vital communication lines or organize emergency medical supplies. The air is heavy with the acrid scent of gunpowder and antiseptic, a constant reminder of the surrounding carnage. Suddenly, a barrage begins. German 77mm field guns open fire at a rate of 10 to 12 rounds per minute, the shells screeching overhead before detonating with earth-shattering force 20 to 30 meters from the forward posts. Heavy machine guns, Maxim and MG-08, chatter relentlessly, spitting out up to 500 rounds per minute, cutting through the smoke like swarms of metallic hornets. Mortality rates spike immediately in exposed positions. Tragically, 1 in 3 men is critically wounded within seconds of the initial incoming fire, according to some sources. Eliza Hart, a 25-year-old ambulance driver, navigates a narrow trench with her team, straining to push a stretcher through the clinging mud. The wounded groan as their blood soaks through the already saturated bandages. She methodically notes each arrival, location, type of injury, and level of urgency. Every movement counts. A single misstep could result in being caught in the deadly shrapnel. The ambulance wheels sink into the mud, sometimes as deep as 30 centimeters. Every second is a desperate battle against time and the treacherous terrain. The first layer of intense tension arises as the team prepares for the vital evacuation. Radios crackle with urgent updates. Enemy troop movements, artillery coordinates, and potential flanking attacks. Women coordinate silently, relying on a combination of hand signals, shouted commands, and semaphore flags. Eliza gently hands a personal letter from a soldier to a nearby nurse. "For safekeeping, mother," he whispers, his voice barely audible. These fleeting moments of human connection stand in stark contrast to mechanical, rhythmic destruction unfolding all around. Shells explode with deafening force near the main trench line. Nurses and drivers instinctively dive behind whatever meager cover they can find, whether it's sandbag walls or shallow depressions in the earth. Jars of iodine and alcohol shatter, their contents spilling onto the mud. Shrapnel whizzes overhead, clanging ominously off steel helmets. 105 millimeters howitzers impact the ground, leaving craters 2 meters deep. Communication lines are severed, forcing manual runners to dash across open ground, braving the hail of bullets to restore vital contact. The chaos intensifies. Trenches partially collapse under the continuous pounding, burying men alive. The second layer of tension emerges with the arrival of an incoming medical convoy. Motorized ambulances and horse-drawn wagons struggle through the mud, which clings like glue to their wheels. Women push, pull, and coordinate the loading of stretchers and supplies with meticulous timing. Every movement is synchronized with the momentary lulls in artillery fire. Machine guns sporadically open fire, forcing quick retreats and rapid reassessment of the safest route. Orders are shouted, almost lost amid the deafening roar, yet followed to the letter. Inside a forward dressing station, women nurses work tirelessly to stabilize men with compound fractures, abdominal shrapnel wounds, and devastating head injuries. Surgical kits are severely limited. Scalpels, clamps, antiseptic bottles, and morphine doses are measured out with excruciating precision. Blood transfusions are calculated on the spot, based on visual assessment and desperate hope. Tragically, mortality rates without proper intervention can reach a staggering 40% for abdominal trauma, according to some sources. The nurses' hands are steady, though adrenaline courses through their veins with every passing second. Amid the surrounding chaos, small human gestures help to maintain morale. Eliza scribbles a quick note for a soldier. "Stay with us. You'll see home soon." Nearby, a nurse hums softly to distract a frightened private from screaming, offering a momentary respite from the horror. Radios emit coded signals. Incoming barges, enemy troop movements, and artillery targeting adjustments. Women translate this crucial information into immediate action. Stretchers are readied, water is boiled for sterilization, triage is prioritized, and transport is directed to safer positions. The third layer of tension explodes as enemy infantry approaches the trenches. Clara, a colleague of Eliza's, directs stretcher bearers under a withering hail of bullets. Casualties arrive faster than they can possibly treat them. Explosions throw mud and debris over everyone, reducing visibility to mere meters. The hospital becomes a chaotic blur of motion. Nurses racing between patients, ambulance drivers maneuvering vehicles, and clerks frantically updating casualty logs. Communication relies on hand gestures and shouted codes. Any misinterpretation could cost lives. Outside, the artillery maintains its relentless rhythm of destruction. 150 millimeters heavy guns fire 4 to 6 rounds per minute, their concussion shaking the ground. Forward trenches, barely 3 meters deep, flood with mud from shell craters, turning into waterlogged death traps. Soldiers cling to life in flooded foxholes. The women's coordination ensures the wounded survive long enough to reach desperately needed medical aid. Every minute is a testament to speed, precision, and unwavering courage under fire. Eliza pauses to check a soldier's pulse, noticing the photograph clutched tightly in his hand. A young daughter, smiling innocently. She reassures him, whispering, "We're here. You'll make it." These fleeting human connections are vital lifelines in a sea of chaos, anchoring both the wounded and the caregivers to their shared humanity. Hours pass in a relentless cycle of trauma and triage. Some soldiers stabilize. Others succumb to their injuries. Trenches are reshaped by shell craters. Barbed wire is torn and twisted into grotesque shapes. Women continue their tireless rhythm. Triage, treatment, evacuation. Their work directly affects the strategic flow of operations. Maps are updated in real time. Unit positions, shell impact zones, casualty density, and estimated survival rates. Commanders rely on this vital data for reinforcement allocation and tactical decisions. By dusk, the immediate assault subsides. Casualties have been stabilized where possible, though many trenches have been obliterated, leaving gaping holes in the defensive lines. Women pause briefly, assessing the results of their efforts. Field reports and updated maps reflect both success and loss. Wounded saved, territory temporarily held, strategic plans adjusted. Their contribution is largely invisible to the world outside the front lines, yet indispensable to survival and operational continuity. As night settles, the fog rolls in over the Somme, obscuring craters and trenches. Only flickering lanterns and the distant glow of burning fires break the pervasive darkness. Women consolidate supplies, bracing themselves for the next inevitable wave of casualties. Their strength, silent yet relentless, forms a crucial layer of support behind the front lines, a force multiplier whose impact resonates far beyond the muddy fields. The courage, skill, and unwavering determination they exhibit ensure that the war is fought not only with weapons, but with unwavering human resilience. 9:08, Verdun, France. A thick morning fog hangs heavy over the ruined landscape. Craters filled with stagnant water mirror the gray sky, and the remnants of trenches zigzag like ghastly scars across the desolate fields. Women march along narrow, treacherous paths, carrying stretchers, precious water, essential medical kits, and vital communication equipment. The air is thick with the pervasive smell of mud, gunpowder, and antiseptic, a grim cocktail that clings to everything in the cold air. This is a battlefield, a landscape of death. Yet life must persist behind the lines, a testament to the indomitable human spirit. The first layer of tension unfolds as the German artillery opens up with renewed ferocity. 150mm howitzers fire 5 to 7 rounds per minute, their explosions shaking the very earth, and 77mm field guns add sporadic bursts, adding to cacophony of destruction. Shrapnel tears through the already shredded barbed wire, and the terrifying sound of Maxims and MG-08s ripping through the mist sends vibrations along every trench. The forward trenches, barely 3 meters deep, provide minimal cover, offering scant protection from the relentless onslaught. Casualty ratios spike dramatically. Sometimes 1 in 2 soldiers in exposed positions is critically wounded, according to some sources. Martha Leclerc, a 28-year-old nurse, coordinates a team to receive the incoming wounded, her movements precise and efficient. Her eyes scan the chaotic battlefield, searching for the next wave of casualties, while her hands instinctively wrap bandages, prepare morphine doses, and stabilize fractures. Each arrival brings a renewed sense of urgency. A soldier clutches a small photograph of his fiancée, whispering her name as he collapses onto the stretcher, his face pale with pain and exhaustion. Martha reassures him softly, her voice calm and soothing. "Hold on. You'll see her again." The power of human connection amidst the surrounding chaos drives them forward, fueling their tireless efforts. The second layer of tension intensifies as a forward medical convoy attempts to cross open terrain to reach a partially collapsed trench. Horse-drawn wagons sink into mud, nearly 40 centimeters deep, their progress agonizingly slow. The engines of early motorized ambulances sputter and choke on debris, their wheels spinning uselessly in the clinging mud. Women push, pull, and coordinate each stretcher with military precision, every movement calculated and deliberate. The timing of their actions must perfectly match the fleeting pauses in artillery fire, a dangerous dance with death. One wrong step could be fatal, resulting in injury or even death. Inside the makeshift field hospital, nurses and aides operate under extreme pressure, their faces etched to exhaustion and determination. Surgical kits are stretched to the absolute limit. Scalpels, clamps, antiseptic, morphine, and desperately needed blood transfusions are carefully rationed. The mortality rate for abdominal and chest trauma remains tragically high, up to 45% without immediate intervention, according to some sources. Nurses calculate and improvise, their hands steady, their minds sharp, relying on their training and instincts to make life or death decisions. They manage multiple patients simultaneously, prioritizing by severity and survivability, making the most of limited resources. Amid the technical chaos of the operating tent, fleeting human moments punctuate the day, reminders of the lives they are fighting to save. Martha finds a folded letter in a soldier's coat, a note from his mother, written weeks before his deployment, filled with love and worry. She carefully places it gently in his pocket, whispering, "You'll deliver this home." Nearby, another nurse hums a lullaby to calm a terrified private, offering a small measure of comfort in the face of overwhelming fear. Radios crackle with coded enemy reports, artillery adjustments, and troop movements. Women translate these signals into immediate action, readying stretchers, boiling water for sterilization, or directing evacuation routes, ensuring the wounded receive the care they desperately need. The third and final layer of tension arrives with an unexpected enemy push. German infantry emerges from a foggy tree lanes, supported by machine gun nests firing a relentless 500 rounds per minute. Clara and Martha coordinate triage and evacuation under a withering hail of bullets, their actions calm and decisive despite the immense danger. Explosions send mud and debris flying through the air, obscuring everything in a thick, choking cloud. Visibility drops to just a few meters, making every movement a gamble. Nurses race from patient to patient. Ambulance drivers maneuver vehicles through obstacles, and clerks log casualty data as quickly as possible, their hands flying across the pages. Communication relies on short commands, hand gestures, and previously established signals. Any misstep could be fatal, costing lives. Artillery maintains its relentless rhythm of destruction. 155 millimeters heavy guns fire 4 to 6 rounds per minute, shaking trenches and creating new craters with each deafening blast. Forward trenches, barely deep enough to shelter soldiers, flood as rain and shell explosions combine, turning them into muddy graves. The women's coordinated efforts allow the wounded to survive the long and treacherous journey from the front line to desperately needed surgical care. Every movement is a testament to precision, courage, and unyielding determination. Amid the carnage, Martha notices a young soldier clutching a small book of poems, his knuckles white. His trembling hand presses it to his chest as he moans in pain. She kneels beside him, calming him with gentle words and administering morphine. "We are here. You're safe for now," she whispers, her voice a beacon of hope in the surrounding darkness. These brief, intimate exchanges anchor both the wounded and the caregivers to their shared humanity amidst the mechanical destruction of war. Hours stretch into late afternoon, each minute feeling like an eternity. Some soldiers stabilize, their bodies responding to treatment. Others succumb to their injuries despite all efforts. Trenches collapse under repeated shelling, disappearing into mud, and barbed wire is twisted and shredded, creating an impassable barrier. Women work tirelessly, triage, treatment, evacuation, driven by a sense of duty and compassion. Maps and reports are updated constantly. Troop locations, shell impact zones, casualty density, and estimated survivability, providing commanders with the information they need to make crucial decisions. Commanders rely on this data to allocate reinforcements, adjust attack routes, and determine retreat lines, decisions that can mean the difference between victory and defeat. By evening, the frontline assault recedes, leaving behind a landscape of devastation and despair. Casualties stabilize where possible, their bodies bandaged and medicated, but many trenches have been obliterated, leaving gaping holes in the defensive network. Women take a brief respite, surveying their efforts, their faces weary but resolute. Reports show both success and loss. Wounded saved, defensive positions maintained temporarily, tactical plans modified, a testament to their hard work and dedication. Though largely invisible to the world outside, their labor is essential to survival and operational continuity, a vital cog in the war machine. Night falls over Verdun, and a dense fog envelopes craters and trenches, shrouding the battlefield in an eerie silence. Lanterns flicker faintly, casting long, dancing shadows, and the glow of distant fires punctuates the darkness, a grim reminder of the destruction that has taken place. Women consolidate medical supplies, bracing themselves for the next inevitable wave of wounded, knowing that the fighting will continue. Their silent strength is a critical buffer behind the front lines, a multiplier of combat effectiveness whose impact resonates far beyond the immediate battlefield. Courage, skill, and relentless determination ensure the war is fought not only with weapons, but through human resilience, ingenuity, and compassion. The strategic consequences of their work become evident, shaping the course of the war. Accurate casualty reporting and rapid medical intervention preserve fighting strength, allowing soldiers to return to the front lines more quickly. Evacuated soldiers return to front lines faster, influencing the ebb and flow of battle, bolstering morale, and reinforcing depleted units. Lessons learned in hygiene, triage, and mobile surgery influence military medical doctrine, shaping approaches for decades to come. Their efforts leave a legacy imprinted on maps, field reports, and the memories of those who survive, a testament to the power of silent strength in the midst of war.